A very good morning to you all. Welcome to Sunrise Daily today. I'm Chamberlain. What's up?
Yeah, we're up bright and early here in Lagos, Nigeria's commercial capital. I'm Kayode Okikiolu.
It's a beautiful day, the 2nd of August. Good morning and welcome to Sunrise Daily on Channels Television. I am Bukola Samuel Wemimo.
And from Abuja, it's a rainy day right here in the FCT, or should I say a very cool morning. Welcome. I'm Maokwe Ogun-Yusuf.
Always good to have you cool. Well, let's see how cool the dailies, the headline. Oh, can it ever be that cool?
I doubt it.
I mean, you just wish, don't you? But Mr. Mama, well, he's here to take us through the dailies. Mr. Richard Mama, good morning. Thank you for coming on today.
Good morning.
I mean, sometimes you take a look at the headlines in Nigeria compared across West African papers. Why does it always look as if we were always at everybody's throat over here when you look at our headlines? Never really nice and easy compared to some of the West African countries, maybe. Maybe the Francophone ones. I did that comparison once and I thought, oh dear, well, you got to know something is happening in this country. But then, let's start with leadership. They start on a political note. I mean, having looked at how INEC going on with the activities, several things about registration, the CVR going on. So the leadership comes up today with the kind of headline, not the businessy like some of the other ones. Let's see it, guys. And so the front page there says, leadership newspaper, well, Pvc Registration Deadline. That's what this is about. As INEC registers 2.8 million in 1 month, pressure mounts for extension. Well, you never wrote that out. People always ask for an extension. But at the moment, INEC says they're done with that. What do you think of it?
I think I can appreciate the two sides of the discussion. When INEC says they are done with registration, they are working around the original timetable they had brought out, and then they are, logistical, thinking. But I think that it's possible to have a win-win for both sides, which means, we suggest that, yes, you have to process and print the cards and hand them over to the people, and you need some time frame to do that. But you can continue registering people for another 1-2 months, right? In the hope that perhaps the final registrants may not exactly hold their PVC by voting day if you absolutely cannot meet the logistics. Because one day we've got to come to that point where we say everyone that should be registered should be registered. I'm hoping that by 2027, God helping us, right, we will not have this challenge, and that people can just simply, from their handsets, just the way they transfer and receive money, they could also complete the registration process and print out your documentation.
Is that to suggest that perhaps we shouldn't just limit it to permanent voter cards? For instance, if you are up to 18, if you can drive, if you can transact business, you should have one kind of identity that should also allow you to vote.
You're absolutely spot on. I think the whole mystery about voters' cards in itself, has to be broken. Because a voter's card is one other means of identification. And in this time of technology and biometrics and supportive verification facilities, that mystery has to go.
And we being cash crunch in the country.
Yeah.
So we should reduce where we spend a lot of money as much as possible and streamline these things.
And our paperless objectives,
And we have NIN as well.
Yeah, NIN.
And it has the NIN. Oh boy, that's leadership anyways.
Well, let's take a look at the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper. This is what you find. This is on the economy, all right? So we're talking from electoral matters, the politics, to the economy. And this is what you find. Presidency wades into CBN NMPC feud. That's right. Are you wondering what's going on here? The Daily Trust newspaper, well, focuses on that one, on dollar remittance, particularly with riders. Maybe that might give you some explanation. We remitted over $2 billion to our account with Apex Bank, oil firm. How CBN augmented NMPC's $1.6 billion remittance for oil imports. So this is just like out of the blues, right? We just launched the NNPC Limited, still thinking, okay, what's going to happen to, you know, the sector, our remittance, essentially how the operations in that whole sector goes. And we're seeing this one, presidency wades into CBN NNPC feud. Is this something you probably have been following, or are you as shocked as maybe I am, as other Nigerians
No,
are?
I'm not surprised.
Okay.
I was expecting, and I'm still expecting some more, you know, turbulence in terms of this whole process. Because the truth about it is that they say water would find its level, you know. The point is, do you want to deregulate this industry? If you want to, then do it. You know, because petroleum has become an albatross for us. And it's sad, because this is our bumper season. We did not call for the Ukraine-Russia war, right? But it happened. You know, just like you had the 1973 issues, right? We've had another one some 40, 50 years thereafter, and we are losing. We're hemorrhaging on account of what is supposed to... Our accounts, our excess crude accounts, so-called, should be brimming, should be busting. We should be lending to nations at high premiums at this point. It's sad. And we had this chance, you know, several years ago to completely deregulate this industry. The former minister, Ibe Kachiku, put a template on the table. He said in 18 months or thereabout, we are going to have walked through this course. Somewhere along the line, some memos started flying around and the whole process was scuttled. Even when we got to PIA, all right, poor political brinksmanship, and the whole process again has been extended. We will deal with this issue someday, and we should deal with it today.
But, you know, is this really about deregulation or just the challenge majority of businesses Nigerians are facing with dollar remittance? I mean, just recently we saw Emirates writing that, do I say, is a letter or what to the Nigerian government saying, well, this and this, we've not been able to even repatriate our funds. We try to pay for, you know, the aviation fuel in Naira, and they said no. So there's generally a challenge, people trying to pay for school fees, medical fees, and all of that. And then you keep hearing, we don't have enough dollars. So is this really about deregulation, or just a general state of foreign exchange, you know, the dollar, Naira back and forth, really?
No, I think it's several things. But the deregulation question is a major part of it, because we get the bulk of our foreign exchange, you know, consummate in government terms from the sales of crude. And so that means that the crude comes to the system through the CBN. Now, if the CBN is circumscribed in terms of having to deal with subsidies, have to deal with all the other issues, you know, then you now have a crisis, because the CBN does not have enough to fund, you know, that system. And even when you get to the other issues, as in, for example, education or healthcare, you know, the funds people take for those other ones, those are other failings of a system. The truth about it is that we insist on being a dodgy nation. People confront their problems. They don't run away from it. And this country has to confront its own central challenge, that it has to have a governance model that enables the economic empowerment of its citizens. Governance is about the people. As the people keep growing, so the country gets better.
Quite instructive words there. We need to face our challenges.
Absolutely. Speaking of challenges, it's been said that crude is not diamond, it's not tiny that, you know, you can't find who's stealing. And government says, you know, there's a lot of pipeline vandalism going on. But following the deployment of gunships and, you know, security operatives to the Niger Delta area, and the promise by the Chief of Defense Staff that indeed they were going to rein in on those stealing Nigeria's crude, why has it been difficult for, you know, some results to be seen in that regard? What are your thoughts?
No, it's quite simple. The talk is cheap. It's one thing to make the statement, we are going to deal with it, we are on top of the issue. The other reality is that, are there sacred cows in the system? And there are. A governor in this country, several months back, on national television said, hey, XYZ are implicated, you know, in the crude business in my state. There was no investigation. If there was, we haven't seen the report, right? Now, so you get it now again. Someone has to recognize that you need to have a nation for you to even be called a former president or a former head of state of that nation. If you don't, if this crisis at several levels continues to deteriorate and expand, God forbid one day you will not have a nation to refer to.
Because, I mean, it doesn't look as if we really want to tackle this crude oil theft challenge. Because I remember the last government had a committee on this one. So this government came in. What happened to that committee? Well, they disbanded. So do they have their own committee? Nobody's heard anything about some of these things. So if we're losing at that time in the region of 40,000 barrels per day, now they say it's way more than that. So where do we go from here? Who knows?
Who knows why we need committees every now and then. When we have statutory agencies that are meant to ensure security and all of that. A couple of headlines. I'm actually looking for cool headlines, maybe for Chamberlain and our viewers, but really there's none. Again, airfare spike as Abuja kind of flight costs 135,000.
Not cool.
Not cool at all. I can go on and on, but I'll just leave it there for the Daily Trust.
But for Daily Independent, there's no cool headline either. So the Daily Independent this morning leads with, the politics of the PDP, and it says, PDP BOT expresses concern over confusion in party. Let's take a look at the riders. Wike Group gives conditions for reconciliation as calls for Iocha Ayu's resignation heighten. There's been some talk about the crisis in the PDP and about how Governor Wike invested heavily in the party, particularly at the time when the party was in crisis and it was headed for an implosion. And he worked hard for the party to stand today, and therefore he should reap the gains of his hard work. So is it beginning to look to you like a sink or swim situation here if, Governor Wike is not appeased? And is this the conversation that really the PDP should be having now ahead of the 2023 general election?
It's a sad turn, but it also returns us to the issue of when you break the edge, the serpent will bite. The PDP has a constitution, and it is expected that organizations that put together constitutions expect to be bound by their constitution. And then the PDP also has to deal with the ground realities of the nation. It has been an opposition party for the better part of 7 years and counting. How has it opposed? Around which principles did it put on the table, to oppose? Because when you deal with things from the point of principle, it's easier to resolve them. The PDP was for a long time being dodgy. People within the party were saying, can we redefine the party? Can we reevaluate? Can we reposition? We were pushed out of office because we made certain mistakes. Can we address those mistakes and resolve them? So when they did not resolve them and kept patching the system on, we're going to get to a day where things were going to come to a head. Now they have come to the head. Unfortunately, it is coming at a very critical point for them, on the eve of another elections. So how they deal with it at this point, is going to be a challenge or is going to be a winner. If you ask for independent counsel, I say go back to original principles, stick with principles, deal with issues. If there are zoning issues in your party, respect them optimally.
Hasn't the horse bolted from the stable?
No, the horses can be recalled if you necessarily need to recall them. But the point is that there are several ways you deal with issues of this nature. And I think that's where you start giving guarantees, documented, firm guarantees, in that sense. There's absolutely nothing that cannot be done. After all, some people won primaries and they announced or they sent letters to INEC that they are not going ahead anymore, right?
But let's be more categorical. Can the PDP move on without Governor Wike?
Of course, every organization can move on without one person, one member, one component. The PDP can, but the PDP is in a hamstrung position. The PDP had Peter Obi, right, who has become a third candidate, in this race. Nigeria has had one candidate several years, and then two candidates, and now we have a 3-candidate race going even possibly to a fourth. The PDP had Peter Obi. So if Peter Obi had remained in the PDP would not have donated a third candidate to the Nigerian political equation, right? So the PDP moved on without Peter Obi and gave themselves the threat of a third candidate. Now, if they move on without Governor Wike, what configurations would come on subsequently? So I think it's, treading the issues. But for me, it's beyond even winning or losing. It's about the fact that a country must be governed by his best principles, best practices.
So, in other words, you're saying anything can move on from anything, but at what cost? But the thing now is, in the future, will people look to this scenario and say, wait a minute, last time out that this kind of scenario happened, somebody paid, invested heavily, and certain things happened or didn't go the way they thought it should happen. So in future, will politicians now say, look, I'm not going to invest or overreach myself. I will invest within my own immediate circumstance. Maybe if it's in my state, self-preservation first. Then maybe at the national level, whatever happens. But then, you ask yourself, if at the national level you don't have a say at the center, how strong can you be at the wings?
No, you hit the point. If you don't have a say at the center, now the point is you've got to build a say at the base and take that say. Some of us who have been advocating for restructuring of the federation, that's what we're talking about. A parliamentary democracy is more representative. That's how Awo built his say. That's how Amadou Bello built his say. That's how the rest of Okpara and all of them built their say. And then they now took their say to go to the national platform. It's this idea of a nation. A nation does not exist, in the air. A nation exists as an aggregate, of component units. No, so when we keep saying this is the national interest, no. There are subnational interests that are negotiated into a national interest. So it is legitimate to build your say at the base and then to build up from there. The rest of the nation will respond to you on the basis of what you have built at the base. And that is what is natural and logical.
Maybe proportional representation might be interesting at this point. You never can tell.
All right. Somebody's negotiating with his say very much in the PDP now. All right, Malkwe.
Well, thank you, Bukola. And I think The Guardian has more of what that say is about. They have just beneath the nameplate, PDP, Wike demands ASUU's removal, single term for Atiku. BOT meets tomorrow. Page 6 is where you find details. I'm just wondering whether you think these conditions are too steep.
Yeah, I would say that, as the PDP people will say, it's an internal affair, it's a family affair for them, because for us in the media, we try to approximate the best interest of the people, of the nation. So let the PDP finish its own discussions and negotiations, as it is. What concerns us, what should concern us and, as a nation in that sense is that, look, you want to get the best for the country, and you want to get the best in terms of the geopolitics, in terms of the economics, in terms of the welfare, in terms of the best practices, that should govern a country. This country has so much potential and should aspire for so much greatness. Now, if the country is not getting it, it means then that fundamentally it begins with politics. So as much as we recalibrate, in a sense, it's interesting what's going on in the PDP, even in the APC with the Muslim, issues and all that. Every country is a product of robust debates. Every country. The Americans spent a lot of time debating the American Declaration. The British, built the Magna Carta over a period of time. The people of Singapore. But when you see outcomes 40, 50, 200 years down the line, they are the product of rigorous debates, rigorous discussions that are taking place years, decades and generations before. So I think the PDP should engage as robustly as it is in the national interest. Same for all other parties. And at the end of the day, we should have a better democracy and a better nation.
Well, the lead story is bigger than the PDP. It says Nigeria missing as BRICS moves to cut Western domination. That's what you find there. Country on waiting list to join BRICS. Accession talks have not commenced, says diplomat. Country will not meet economic criteria, experts insist. So just in case you're wondering just what the BRICS are about, there's the acronym of countries, first letters, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. South Africa is the only country on the African continent considered in that particular economic aggregation. What do you think will be Nigeria's, what will you make of our plot, or not plot now, I'm looking for the right word to use, our bid to join the BRICS? Do you think that we have what it takes?
This discussion is painful. This aspect of the discussion is painful because we remember that as far back as independence, 1958, 1960, Time magazine was saying that Nigeria was the great African hope. right? The great African hope. Now, if Africa is a quarter, Africa is about 51, 54, 55 countries, which is about a quarter of the United Nations ecosystem. Now, if you are setting up any organization to deal with multilateral negotiations like BRICS, then Nigeria should logically stand in, more so in terms of nominal GDP, in terms of population count, right? We have the numbers, in those terms. So what you have there are governance failings in terms of foreign policy management. That's what you have on the door. Whether it comes with ECOWAS, whether it comes with the African Union, whether it is with the United Nations ecosystem, Commonwealth, and even now, as it has to do with BRICS, it means that we have not pushed our weight, because we have natural weight to push. But weight does not push itself. You've got to drive it. You've got to articulate a framework. If you remember that it was in this same country, Murtala Mohammed, as head of state, went and made a speech, 75, 76, Africa has come of age. And the whole of the world was quaking on account of one speech by one Nigerian head of state. So it's important that we recalibrate as quickly as possible, our foreign policy objectives. You don't need to have everything to have a strong foreign policy. You don't need to have everything, but you need to put it consciously there, because there are variables that we have that should not be kicked away. If South Africa is in the table, why is Nigeria not in the table? So it's important that we deal with it. But I think that part of the problem is that we have actually sunken down to very poor internal politics, which makes it impossible for us to raise our weight and deal with, our position when it comes to the international scene. So the more we fix our internal politics, the more we can lift up our eyes and be able to see that there are vacancies for this nation, there are opportunities for this nation at the global stage. And I think we've got to deal with that even now.
Well, let's leave it there for the Guardian newspapers.
All right, take a look at Vanguard newspaper next. PDP crisis. Wike's group lists demands as elders meet. Seeks single term from Atiku. ASUU stepping down as chairman. NAS leadership, others. BOT, NWC to meet tomorrow. PDP's problem, not as bad as APC's Muslim issue. Ascribed to Walid Jibrin. So that we've already focused on. Let me see. Economic downturn forces Nigerians to abandon 5.7 million bank accounts. So banks, behave yourself, treat your customers right. You don't have too many now. At the bottom straight, bandits block Enugu Port Harcourt highway, burn army van, abduct scores of passengers. Looks like it's coming closer home. If they're blocking roads now, goodness me, what next? And then this also concerns the populace. Minister attacks FG's plan to impose 5% tax on call, text, data. Now, this turns out to be Minister of Communication, Mr. Pantami, who says that they will do everything legally possible to fight this policy, because he says, the paper quotes him as saying, that policy did not go through wide consultation, and if it's allowed to sail through, it's going to affect the sector badly. Wow. Isn't this what people want? Like, don't go through with this. Who knows where this will head? So, is the government divided against themselves now?
I think we should keep this statement for the record, because it would speak in the days ahead.
File this paper wherever you are. Go get one. And then, Mr. and Mrs. I think I'm going to look for trouble this morning. So, Mr. and Mrs. normally. So, Marco, you can imagine how it was raining in Abuja today, but Mrs. is making the similar kind of reference. So, Mrs. says, oh, will this rain stop for God's sake? My makeup cost a fortune. And you almost know where I'm going. And then Mr. says, please, wait till it stops. It will be disheartening to see good money being washed away in different colors. That's my God, this paper today.
By the way, I'm not laughing at the joke. I don't think the joke is funny, so nobody should come for me. I'm just laughing because I love to laugh.
That's after the fact.
I love to laugh. Laughing is good medicine.
No, we'll bear the cost after this.
Take a look at the Nigerian Tribune this morning. And what is on the front page is not funny at all. Even if I wanted to laugh at this, there's nothing to laugh at. ASUU extends a 168-day strike by 4 weeks. Parents, students kick. We don't trust you again, parents tell ASUU. Nance wants education minister sacked. It's a page 4 read. Did that surprise you, this rollover strike? It's been rolling over since February 14th, and it's clearly rolling to almost the end of August. What do you think about this?
No, it's painful. It's painful. When parents wake up in the morning and see their able-bodied children who, by the grace of JAMB and the system, have been able to get admissions into the public school system and they are home. It's painful. It's painful. I think that there has been too much irresponsibility. I think that's a simple word to describe it in terms of addressing this. And I think it's because people don't have an eye on the future. A president, or rather a prime minister, stood up in a country some 60 or thereabout years ago and said, you know what, I want to build a country where people will be respectable, where everyone would have their homes, a country, small fishing inlet, a country where the systems would work, that would, compete with the rest of the world in terms of growth, development, advancement. And down the line, that country has remained one of the top-ranking countries, top 10 in the world for the past 20 years and counting. Singapore.
Right.
What are the strategic visions of Nigerian leaders? Oil will run away. Your agric farms do not count in real terms except the value addition that you bring to it. And it begins with education. Any government education is more important than security.
Right.
Because it's the failure of education. The Boko Haram people they started by burning their certificates. Partly because the certificates gave them education that was inadequate, just like Governor Rufai had showed us. Teachers that were not sent for refresher courses and so could not teach. Governor Shomoye also showed us that. So when you have an educational system that is that bad, the first state of emergency you declare is on education, fixing education.
Very, very important point you made there, and we can go on about this, but because of time, we'll definitely delve into this in the coming minutes. Onto the big picture on the front page, 50 feared abducted in Kaduna, 10 in Taraba, Bauchi. And just for mention, first grains ship leaves Ukraine under Russia deal. And people are saying, if you can agree on food, why can't you agree on peace, right? Stop killing. It's a page 2 read at Nigerian Tribune this morning.
And very quickly, let's take a look at the Daily Times newspaper. We were looking for a cool headline, just some minutes ago, and we couldn't find one. I think I was able to look through the papers and found one. It's above the nameplate of the Daily Times newspapers, and it says, soldiers raid Abuja, Niger, Kaduna forests, arrest bandits, destroy their camps. Soldiers arrest, I can't resist it, I must take it again. Soldiers raid Abuja, Niger, Kaduna forests, arrest bandits, destroy their camps. That's a breath of fresh air, and we hope that they're able to build upon these gains, and make more arrests of bandits. But take a look at the big story on the front page of the Daily Times newspaper. Okowa, Baba Ahmed, that's the running mate to the Labour Party presidential candidate, trade words over Obi. Let's take a look at some of the riders. Obi, a neophyte, lacks experience to rule Nigeria, says Delta Governor. Okowa has no idea what capacity is. Obi most qualified for presidency, Baba Ahmed. I'm ready to sacrifice for Nigeria's survival, ex-Anambra Governor. I can't resist the urge to continue in that line of thought that I started off with earlier, which we didn't quite exhaust. Why are the politicians talking about these things that are less important than the real issues? Is it the fault of the media now? Are they not asking the right questions?
No, I think that it's not the fault of the media. The media is in the business of information, and so when you make a statement that is what, you know, profiling, the media will throw it out at you. I think what needs to be done is that the citizenry, you know, also have to engage. You know, again, you remember also that the ban on politics has not been formally lifted. So there will be more opportunities for discussions, for debates, and it's a long run. You know, I'm impressed that INEC has given us more time to interrogate our candidates, you know, and aspirants and all that, because once they get in there, it's almost impossible to do much to censor them, you know, in that sense. So I think the media is doing its bit, will continue doing its bit, but the point is that as the media keeps doing its work and the citizens keep doing their work, as in, for example, the 10, 12 million people that went out to go and join the voters, you know, tranche, quite impressive. You know, the dominant factor there is the youth vote, the student vote. So there are no more lazy youth. They are engaged youth, you know, and you are going to have a lot more of this, you know, coming on. I think what the media should continue to do is to provide space for all shades of opinion. It's one thing to represent the big man who says something, but we should hear from the small people, because at the end of the day, every country is a country of its small people.
Well, you know, they can disagree all they want, but at the end of the day, people want to know what will they do to fix the economy, specifically, bottom line. So all the other one is, they can play their politics, but when the chips are down, that's what we want to know. So I have to resist moving forward, because if I don't, time will resist me. Well, thank you for coming on, Mr. Mama.
Thank you very much.
We will be back in a moment. Don't go away.
The roads are lonely, and the silence in the classrooms across public universities in the country is deafening. The classrooms are under lock and key. A peep through the window into the classroom shows dusty chairs and desks, clear evidence that the classrooms have not been used for any academic activities for some time. Students like Feintola Oluwa, a 400-level student of estate management at the Obafemi Awolowo University in Ile-Ife, Osun State, are finding an alternative since she can't be in school due to the industrial action by lecturers.
I started my learning graphic design properly in April. Then I did a lot of personal projects. So I designed a logo for somebody that she's into plants. She sells plants, so I designed a logo for her, and I started to post it on Twitter, and from there it blew up. I got a lot of responses.
Like Feintola, the strike is having psychological and financial impact on Prince Agbola, a 400-level law student at the University of Abuja. Thanks to this job in a hotel, he's finding a way to deal with the frustration of idleness.
You can't just stay at home, like you have to go out and hustle. Because the strike, you being at home self alone, depression will just get to you. Like you being at home, depression will get to you. So you have to like go out and hustle. Like I've gone through like different jobs just within the space of this 6-month strike. I've done different jobs. I've worked in the hotel. I've done different things just to make money during the strike. Because it's really bad for like students to be at home during this period.
Jada Christopher, a student of industrial design at the Ahmadu Bello University in Zaria, Kaduna State, is also not letting the strike take the shine of her life.
I've been trying to get my hands on some jobs. I have a summer school job in August lined up for me, and I also try to practice some art and craft jobs like painting on materials, painting on clothes, try to work on my aesthetic value on my designs and also how it can be utilized. The government really needs to do something about it, because we have to go back to school. We need to go back to school. It's very essential. We need to finish what we already started. We can't be going halfway each and every time we start something. So we beg the government that they should help and do whatever they can so that we can go back to school.
As the saying goes, when two elephants fight, the grass suffers. In this case, the Nigerian students are suffering, and they really cannot wait to get back to
All right, so to talk to us about the whys and the wherefores, let's head to Abuja concerning ASUU's rollover of the strike. Markwe?
Thank you, Chamberlain. Indeed, the president of ASUU is here with us, Professor Emmanuel Osodeke. Thank you for coming to our studios this morning.
Thank you very much for having me.
But it's really depressing news. You must have also heard from the students there, and they're really struggling to keep hope alive. We had heard sometime last week there were talks that ASUU was going to call off its strike this week. In fact, some people felt almost cocksure that it even made it to the dailies. How come it is that the announcement we heard instead is that you're rolling over the strike for another 4 weeks?
Well, what you had last week were just speculations. And the speculations, was based on what we also heard from the news, that the federal government, that the president had given the Minister of Education 2 weeks within which to resolve the issues.
Yes.
And that was what the people based the idea on, that within 2 weeks, the government will resolve the issue, and then ASUU will call off the strike. It was just based on that you had that speculation that ASUU, we have a procedure. We, the principal officer of the union, we cannot call off strike. We must go to our branches who actually declared the strike. So that is it. So it was just speculation, but unfortunately.
Did you also hear that? I mean, did you also believe that perhaps this week, maybe that strike could be called off?
We were very hopeful. We thought that as soon as that announcement was made, that within 1 or 2 days, we are here, within 1 or 2 days, we'll be called to a meeting. And like we said, the issue remaining to us today, where we are, is that it can be resolved within 24 hours if there is seriousness on the part of government. It can be resolved. The issue of UTAS and IPs have been tested. And from what has been happening recently, it's clear to all Nigerians that the IPs were just a fraudulent means of siphoning money from workers. As I speak, when you go around Nigeria, you take the population, not less than 10,000 of our members have one issue or the other with payment. Either 5 months salary not paid, 8 months not paid, 20 months not paid, and what have you. If you go around university today, you see that a number of people were either paid. We have a professor who will pay about 25% of his salary, and nothing happens.
This IPs and UTAS matter is a very tricky one, and we'll delve into it shortly. But I just wanted to know on what basis, because some media outlets had gone out to say that the strike was going to be called off this week, and they were quite sure. We also saw the NLC in a joint protest last week. They did a protest nationwide, and then they also had a very big protest right here in Abuja. And they were hoping that would also yield results. I mean, I think they left with the threat that if nothing is done, they will then call a strike themselves. Something certainly must have happened after that.
Nothing. You see, if we really were serious, if we take education serious, if the children of all Nigerians, irrespective of your rank, you are in Nigerian university, once NSU gave this warning early June, we would not have waited for it to do that demonstration. The warning was given in first week in June. Federal government were written that, look, sort out this problem. If you don't, within I think, give a timeline, we'll have a protest. If that protest, we'll go on a 3-way strike. But they did nothing. Then the strike, the protest took place last week. Up to today, we have not been formally called to any meeting. So that is what you see. This present system, this present government, and even the one in the past, they have absolutely no regard for the Nigerian educational system. And the impact is very clear. There's no country, any university you go to in the world, and I mean the whole world, you will not see a Nigerian lecturer. There's none. There's no university you go to in the world, you will not see a Nigerian student. But there's no university you go to in Nigeria and you see a foreign lecturer. There's no university you go to Nigeria and you see foreign students, except those maybe who parents are here or what have you. So that is it. So why are our people leaving and nobody is coming in? That is the cause of all this our strike. Why are our lecturers leaving? We spend so much money training a lecturer. TETFON spend money training a lecturer. After training them, they leave the country. They are best brain, they leave the country. But none is coming, as you have in the 60s, 70s, 80s. None is coming. That should be a universal. People should come in as we are going.
So 6 months now. You've been on strike since February. February 14th.
It'll be 6 months on the 14th.
Yes, you declared this particular strike. And this is the 2nd of August. You cannot say that nothing has been happening. I mean, there must have been meetings. There must have been negotiations. There must have been conversations. You mean out of all of these conversations, nothing is forthcoming?
As at now, absolutely nothing.
So what do you usually conclude at the end of these conversations that you have with the federal government?
We will conclude. We will finish the process. You know, collective bargaining, you have two bodies. The federal government represented. We don't expect the president to come and discuss with us, negotiate with us. The government set up a panel. The first was headed by Muzili Jubri. That was in May last year. We finished with them. And they said, okay, now that we are finished, let us go and show our principal, which is the government, to give them permission to sign. We said, fine. They didn't come back to us until February this year to say they rejected it. Then in March, they set up another one, headed by Nimi Briggs. And by 16th of June, we also finished with them amicably, and we all reached an agreement. And now till now, they've not reached back to us. All we are hearing is that ASUU chased out some lying. One Mr. Nzaga in national salary income went and lied to the government that we chased him out of the distance. But the good thing is that we have all the minutes of the meeting where he attended each of them, but he went and lied.
To what end? What is he trying to achieve?
It's just to scatter the whole process. That's what they've been doing. The people scattering all this process, not even the political elite. It's the bureaucrat. Why would you go and tell the government that they chase you out of negotiation? Did you know it's a lie?
Did you have an altercation with him?
At all. At all. Even the test of UTAS and IPs, you were also there from beginning to the end. But you go to the government and deceive the country, and you had the news that ASUU chased out some people out. And we have all the minutes. We have asked the government, bring out the meetings where it is declared that he was chased out. Bring out all the attendance of the meeting to show that he missed one. He didn't sign. He was prevented from signing. This is how they keep on putting wedges. We will finish, they go back, they send it to them, the Salary and Wages Commission, Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Labour, and what have you, and they throw wedges on it. Okay. And
so
that's where we are today.
Would you say that there has been a move, though? Because, I mean, I'm looking at some of the, the issues that you had. The major one, one of the ones that really stands out is this UTAS and IPIS system. ASUU doesn't want IPIS, and they have been on this matter for a very long time. You say you have UTAS. Has there been some movement towards the acceptability of UTAS by the government, or is there still some resistance?
Thank you very much. Like I also said, we had the first test, and by our standard, it passed. We had the second test. It scored 99.3. It passed.
No, we've been saying all of that. I mean, I think you showed us documents the last time you were here.
Then the third one, they said they would not test the three, and then accept the best. That is UTAS, U3 PPS, and IPs. That we should test the three, and government should take the best, which we accepted. And that was concluded more than a month ago. And we still have not seen the result. And meanwhile, the students are languishing at home. Should you take one day?
Where was this tested?
By NIDA.
It was tested by NIDA?
By NIDA.
Okay.
Also a government agency.
Yes, because don't forget that NIDA too had also written again to say that, oh, we didn't quite, one time I think they said, oh, NIDA gave it a very complete pass. And then NIDA came back to say, no, we did not give it a complete pass, that there was some misinformation. Anyway, this is where you are now. You've agreed to submit your mechanism to UTAS.
We have done so.
Are the results out?
We've not seen the result.
So if the results eventually come out and maybe UTAS is not accepted,
there's no way.
Well,
there's no way.
From
that test, there's no way UTAS will not come top. There's no way if Eurocrat don't also throw wages again.
No, that's a problem.
Because we were there.
Yeah, but that's
we were all there. We saw all the tests. They told us that they are using IPs. That's what the whole world knows, is it not? All you are hearing is that IPs is used to pay salary. IPs is saving money, is it not? But when they came to test, for the test, they brought another program.
You know why I'm asking you this? Because just last week, we hosted the DG of the Bureau for Public Service Reforms. And he told us that IPIS was their own idea, was their baby of the Bureau for Public Service Reforms. It was a part of their idea to reform the public service sector, and that largely it has worked for almost all of the civil servants. Oh, that was what he said. We heard much later from another source that when IPIS was being formed and that an invitation was sent to all government agencies to send representation, that ASUU refused to show up for that particular discussion. And then when eventually so that, their peculiar, perhaps salaries and allowances might be incorporated into IPIS, the ASUU was nowhere to be found.
You see, what you have in Nigeria, public officer come to the public without checking background. It might be a new person in the office. Without checking the background.
No, they're two different things.
I'm just giving you.
I just give you two different scenarios. The DG for Bureau Public Service Reforms told us here on set, we have it on tape, that IPIS was their baby. I mean, it's their idea of, and that is working for most civil service. That is one. The second one, which I told you, was from another source. I did not say it was from the DG of Bureau for Public Service Reforms. So I just want to know, is it true that one, ASUU was not present when IPIS was being configured? And secondly, how come is it that it's working for everybody else, but ASUU says it cannot work for us?
Good. You see, there are some people who are working in Nigeria that don't have the opportunity to air their view.
Okay.
If you have that opportunity, you will not be saying this thing. Two, if any Nigerian tell you that there are people who generate IPs, he's a liar. We have it. You can Google it. Google IPs. Just Google IPs. IPs has nothing to do with, and no Nigeria has nothing to do with IPs. IPs were concocted by World Bank in 2006 and gave to Nigeria that you must use this. As usual now, they are taking over this country. You must use this to pay your worker's salary. And this is the amount you need to pay. You can Google it and see it and read it. You don't need to go to anybody. You will see it there. So anybody that is the owner, it's not true. It was forced on this country. And I ask myself, we're a country with the intelligentsia that you have today. Do you have to go abroad to go and look for how to pay your salary? Now, here, this is the report of the Auditor General of 2019.
Saying what?
On IPs. Let me read some to you. In the month of October 2020, for the Mamadou Bello University's area, out of a total of 9,666, 5,338 have issue with their PFAs.
That's their pension fund?
In the Nigerian police force, over 130,000 officers have PFAs PIN issues. These people, they don't have time, they won't have a opportunity to come and discuss with you. Then they won't have the right to come here and speak. So when you look at this report, it tells you all that you need to know about the problem with IPs. With IPs, this is by the government committee. And we have challenged the government. And I think that's the best way to, as a country. Let the government produce the report of the Auditor General of 2019.
Why just 2019?
This just...
Why not 2020? Why not 2021?
Just wait. This is the one that we have. This is the one. The general, they are not as current as the other one. It takes time to do auditing.
I understand.
They can also produce the one after that. But this one tells you the whole thing. I think they must do the first one. It tells you the whole thing, how much we are losing. How somebody who is 18 years is retiring. How about 170 people having the same PIN? That is, you are paying 130 people with the same PIN. And they are all here. So we challenge this government. We challenge National Assembly because a copy was on National Assembly. We challenge the Auditor General, please produce that copy and publish it, because it should be Nigerians to know. That tells you. So that is it on this IP thing. And then they challenge us, and here is on our thing, that we should produce an alternative, and that it will be deployed.
You did not answer the questions directly,
Yes.
though. The questions I asked was about whether when it was being formulated, did ASUU get...
Good, I will come to that. I will come to that. It's very, you need the background.
Yeah.
When IPs was introduced, in 2014, when we looked at it, we told them it will not work. We were in a meeting with Auditor General, it's a lady. We were in a meeting with her and said this thing will not work. And when all of us have met, we met with them. They met on zonal basis. That's why I say people don't have background. And we have documentation, we can prove to get to Nigeria, even what the conclusion we reach. And when they found out, when we have educated them, what happened in university, they agree we should set up an independent body with members for the union and government to develop the want for the universities. But that ASUU should nominate 2 people, other union 2 people, which we did. They never did come back to us again. Until 2014, so that you get the picture, 2017, they call us again. You had it that with ASUU we must join peace. And we say it's not possible. So they came and presented it to us. We said, let's see what you are presenting. You are going to and present, and we voted it. Because it was just spreadsheet. And you cannot be used spreadsheet and say you are conserving money, yes, it's foolproof. And we discussed over a long time. And we concluded that since we raised the issue of law, because there's also issue of law, that this issue of law should be sorted out before it can be applied, if it agreed. And the law is this. There is a law, University Miscellaneous Act, stated that any circular coming in from the ministry is null in the university. You know why? Because every university has a structure. The structure of the university, that the only person who can give directive is the visitor who can give directive to the council, council to the university. So autonomous. So this idea of going to bring one in, we also challenge them also that name one university in the whole world, Benin, any part of the world, where salary of lecturers are paid from a Accountant General office. And there is none. You know, in paying salary, there are issues. So if there are issue with somebody who is being paid from Sokoto, he has to, that person alone has to now take flight. The person is 100,000 naira per trip. Have to pay money, come to and stay in a queue, even vice chancellor, to see a clerical officer. Go to a peace office, you see the queue. And then when you finish, he goes back. It might not be corrected. The one from Port Harcourt have to come. Is that right? It would have favor our system.
Okay, but let me ask you, because, you know, in recent times you have tried to, and maybe I'm deviating from the issue, because right now what a lot of people want is for us to be able to make progress. I mean, and they are not happy that, you know, you have decided to roll over the strike. But I think the reason why we're doing this is so that people will understand the position of ASUU on this. And I think it's very important for people to see that you're not being difficult, that this is you acting in good faith. I'm just looking at, you know, the details of, you know, of UTAS now, you know, moving forward. You said that this is what you have presented, and there are a few rules that prevent the federal government from interfering within the university system. You talked about autonomy, universities having their own autonomy. But there have been attempts to try and entrench transparency. And part of this attempt to entrench transparency was where we saw the introduction of the TSA, where the federal government can, at one glance, find out how much it has in its kitty, how government agencies are remitting funds to a particular account. Would you say that universities should be exempt from such a transparency system?
You see, if you do the whole analysis, you put a high-tech committee people to look at it, this thing they have introduced is the worst form of corruption. The
TSA?
Yes, and all of them. That is why only one man today.
The Treasury single account?
All of them. You saw the report the other day, how Accountant General alleged to have compromised TSA, and you read it.
Yes, but
just wait. And that is why only one man can sit down and do that, because only one man have access to all these things. Well, in those days, there were better checks. A university will sit down from all departments, they collate and have a budget. And that budget will be screened by the University Governing Council. After screening, it comes to budget office. After screening from budget office to the Ministry of Education, it goes to National Assembly, it is screened. And then when it is approved, it's released to you. Then the next year, when you are coming back to National Assembly for the other year, you have to give account of how you spend this one this year before they approve a new one for you. So that is a check. Then also in university law, they also declare that every 5 years, the federal government will send a high-power visitation panel to university to check how their money has been spent. A high power to go and check every 5 years. So that if anybody infringes on any money, you discipline him. That was how it was. We have to go on strike for the government to set up that panel. We have to force them to come and investigate us. After 11 years, they refuse to do that work. So that is the check that you have. Then you also have the Auditor General, who also have a right and also come to or look at how the money was spent. That was what you have in those days. You don't talk about this thing you are talking about today. Only one man can take 170 billion and just take away. So
isn't it because we have that system in place? That is how this one man was detected.
No, you see, that was just 1 year. That money you had that led to have been collected 2011-21. What happened from 2016? What I'm saying is that it is wrong. Then, for a university, very importantly, a university in those days and all over the world have a right to invest their money. You have a money. You can invest it and generate fund, additional fund. I had a VC in my investing. Before he left, he had generated so much money. I invested. I was using this thing. But with TSA, university cannot more invest. No interest. Nothing. You cannot invest. So you must have this. When you go around the world, every investor have investment. Unilag used to have one of the best investment, but you have crashed it. When you can easily check anybody who is misbehaving. So TSA, what you are saying, you are localizing corruption. You are moving it all over the country, corruption. But what you have done now, you have brought it to one place.
You have centralized.
And it's not checked. You are centralizing corruption, and you are not checked. Nobody checks you. Okay. Even for EFCC, you won't even know this. But in this system, in the university, there are checks and balances.
Let's send this to Lagos now.
Well, Prof, just wondering, when you said that when it was time for federal government to do that test, and then they came up with the nodal software, could you shed some light? What was that? Because government has always insisted that it is IPACE that they insist upon.
Well, all along we're hearing IPACE, but at that test, another name came up. I can't remember the exact name, but something suit. I can't remember something suit came up. And we say, is this what we'll be using? What we'll be here is IPACE. So that is it.
Well, ever since February 14, when ASUU went on strike, is it that no money has been paid to ASUU? Because, I mean, we all remember how the Minister of Labour said, I think about, is it 92 billion has been paid to ASUU at some point?
Since this strike started, no salary of ASUU member have been paid. All those money you talk about, they are not paid to ASUU. No, we keep on having this misconception. ASUU does not manage university money. The university, this money is managed by the University Governing Council. But I can also assure you, since 2021, no money. After the one they released in 2020, 30 billion, nothing has been released to the university system.
Okay. Well,
ASUU
had, you always said that the Minister of Education, at some point, you said he was forthcoming, he was engaging ASUU, he's the one that ought to be speaking, and the Minister of Labour should not complicate matters. But at the moment, it appears as though the Minister of Education is missing. So what kind of impact has he had in all of this?
Well, like I said, that the impression was that there were 2 weeks given to the Minister of Education. I don't know whether it's correct or not. We had it from the press. It's not expired, so we'll wait. That minister is not like colleagues in the Labour who like press. That one want to work quietly. So we'll wait for him.
And the question, Prof, naturally is if he likes to work quietly, it's been 5 months. It will be 6 months in just 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks. So can we really say that he's been working, I mean, doing work quietly, and at least that work is visible if we've not seen any change in over 5 months? Is that really the work that we expect?
Well, like I said, the minister, whether Minister of Labour or Minister of Education, they are government officers. So this question should go to the government. What are they representing you? What are they doing? I think that Nigerians should ask the government and those representatives. We don't speak for the Ministry of, whether the Minister of Labour or Minister of this thing, but they should ask the government what are they doing.
Well, to a large
what
extent.
What have they done in the past 2 weeks that they gave the Minister of Education?
I think
what
to a large extent.
For 5 months. It's not we.
Right.
That question should go to the government.
I understand. To a large extent, you can at least speak about the engagement. And it takes me to kind of a double-edged sword. So ever since the strike started, just to be clear, you've been receiving your salaries. Am I right?
No, nobody has. Like I said again, no, our members, our salary had not had been heard. This is the 6th month our salary had been heard. But we know the idea was to ensure that if they thought that if they hold our salary for 2 or 3 months, we'll come begging and say, please allow us to go back to work. But we as a union of intellectuals, we have grown beyond that. You can't use the force of hunger to pull our members back, which is exactly what the government is doing. And that's why they are still delaying, hoping that we will see collapse. It will not work.
So it's been no work, no pay, apparently. But quickly now, yes. Prof, I just need to know, ever since that 2 week or 3 weeks, whichever one, because there's been a back and forth even from the president saying, no, it wasn't 2 weeks, it was 2-3 weeks. But it was exactly this time, 2 weeks ago, on the 19th of July, that came out. Has there been any form of interface, as much as a text message, as much as even a flash, as they say, between the government and ASUU?
Well, for us, the meeting we talk about, that we quote, are those that are officially called. But if somebody in the ministry called me and talked to me and what have you, they are just, those are informal. And we don't act on informal this thing, we want formal.
Let me just quickly get this in, Prof. You know, on the issue of IPs, government, I've heard, you know, one government official say in most recent times that government is your employer and you are the employee, and as a result, you should subscribe to the payment platform that it provides. I wonder what your comments to that would be. And then the platform that was presented as an alternative that you say was not what was used before, if IPs was not satisfactory to ASUU, did ASUU consider that? Was it tested?
You see, thank you. Let's start with the first one, this employer and employee. When a day you run to the way what you have just expressed, that once you have been employed by somebody, you cannot speak again, whether they pay you salary, whether they cut your salary, you don't speak, then it becomes master-slave relationship. In academic world, you cannot have master-slave relationship. If there are issues that are wrong, the worker should indicate it. And very importantly, and also have found out that IPs is wrong in so many facets. One is that as a country like Nigeria, where we are, giant of Africa, we can't be going to beg to hire somebody abroad to tell you how to pay your salary. It's very shameful. And the whole world is laughing at us. That's one for you. And for us, we found out that it is completely wrong. It does not capture everything that you have in the system. And we can, and meanwhile, we are paying heavily, billions of naira every year for that program. And then they challenge us. We have a document here. In 2020, the government challenged us that ASUU, can you produce a better alternative? And we said yes. He said, go ahead and do it, it will be deployed. We have it written, MOA, Memorandum of Action. And we produced and have been tested. We also asked the government, this one you are using, that they gave you from outside the country that you are paying, you are using, has it ever been tested? They said no. So you got something abroad and brought to your country to use. It was not tested. Then your country intellectuals produce one, and you say it must be tested. But we are happy that now neither have agreed. And I think they're also happy that they have tested what they first capture as IPs. Now they have captured or something else.
So can I ask you quickly, as we wrap up now, if your own platform is accepted, it is tested and it is accepted, will ASUU call off the strike?
You see, like I said, this issue is not about one item. Mm-hmm. There are several items.
Yeah, but is this the single biggest item?
All of them, they are all big. One.
So all of them must be done? All of them must be done before ASUU calls off the strike? I'm just looking for what the minimum that must be done as a mark of good faith before ASUU...
That will be between we and the government negotiation committee. It's not between we and the Nigerian public. It's their duty to come to us and say, look, we can do A, we can do B, we can do C. Give us time to do D and what. It's their duty.
Okay.
Not we say, no, we accept A, B, C, D. No. All the issues are important. Revitalization is important. Paying our members their own allowance is important. Releasing the report of the job panel is important. This proliferation of universities, let me give you one. It's very, very funny.
What?
We are on strike. Just one second. We are on strike. Talking about university not being funded. And we reported last week that there are 63 bills in National Assembly to start 63 new universities. And they have never mentioned one word about this strike. The idea is to constitute, the election is coming. Let's start 63 universities, distribute it, and then people will clap for us and vote for us. That is their, meanwhile, their children are not. I want to see one of those universities are creating. What their children are brought, they should go and put them in that university. So that is the problem we're having.
Well, thank you so much for coming on this morning.
Thank
Professor Emmanuel Osodeke is the president of ASUU, and we've been talking about the rollover of 4 weeks, which ASUU has just embarked upon. We hope that it will be called off very soon, and that the children will be able to go back home and go back to school as soon as possible. Well, thank you so much for coming on this morning.
Thank you. We also look forward to the student resuming as soon as possible, because I love teaching. I'm missing my students.
We'll take a break at this point and we'll be back to discuss another issue. Please stay with us.
Ransacked home is sad evidence of the banditry attack on the family of Pam Giang of Dandi Chedwi village of Jos South local government area. "24 hours later, relatives and extended family members gather in groups wearing long faces discussing the bitter experience. It's one attack too many, as 8 members of the Pam Giang family were brutally murdered by the bandits. Eyewitness account reports that the killers of the Pam Giang family members are herdsmen who unleashed terror on the family, with only 2 members of the family surviving with serious injuries, while 8 of them died. A lawmaker representing the village in the National Assembly could not believe the level of destruction in the overnight attack.
Intelligence number 1, there was notice that these people will likely attack this community. Number 2, movements were seen that they were leaving the area so that the community will be vulnerable, and even if any attack will happen, there won't be collateral damage from their own side. That's intelligence number 2. Nothing happened. People are sleeping and they will be attacked to an extent that an 8-month child's hand was amputated. Barbaric. And you call these people that you should still stay within the same community with them. That even in the ancient war, people that attack some communities usually leave the little one for him to come and tell the story. And what do you call this? It's cleansing. You want to clear the entire community so that they will come and take it over tomorrow. But that won't happen. Enough of this nonsense is enough. The Constitution has already given everybody the right to defend itself. Who will defend them again? We have told them to be peaceful. Defend yourself according to the law. They did not go out to attack anybody, but they came and they were attacked. Look at them. What do you want to tell them? What do you want to tell them? What do you want to tell them?
For the state government, this is a callous attack that will no longer be condoned. In a statement, the government appeals for calm, directing security forces to apprehend the perpetrators of the act and bring them to book.
Well, really disturbing visuals that we saw there from Jos, the Plateau State capital. And I believe that sometime in the program, Honorable Dachong Bagos will be joining us shortly. He's a member of the National Security and Intelligence Committee. But right now, in our Abuja studios, we have with us Honorable Sejos Ogun, who is a member, Constitution Review Committee, and also a member of the Committee on Petroleum Downstream. I'm sure that, you know, the visuals were sufficiently disturbing for you, and the story itself. I mean, 8 members of one family killed in one fell swoop in one night. Your colleague has visited the place because it's in his constituency, and he is, you know, really saddened about what has happened. And it would seem that Plateau, even though the situation in Plateau has been on for a very long time, it comes and goes, it starts and stops. Generally, there has been, you know, a feeling of insecurity in many parts of the country, right here in the Federal Capital Territory. After the Kuje prison break, we also have seen, you know, attacks on our Guards Brigade happening in Buari, etc. We've seen the president have several security meetings since you know, the attacks have happened. I'm just wondering, where we are currently, are you getting sufficient information that, you know, trends like this could actually be could be put to a halt? Let me put it that way.
Well, thank you for having me. I find it difficult to see how we're going to put an end to this, because it's not something that started today. In fairness to the present government, these things didn't start today. But just unfortunately, they made heavy weather of it in 2014, 2015, during the campaigns. And today, if you talk, the party government will tell you you are politicizing security. So the point I'm making is it makes it very difficult to understand what they have done and what they have not done. Now, if we go back to the Kuje prison attack, it was told, like the week we went on vacation,
yes,
the presiding officer, the deputy speaker, said there were 44 intels.
Mm-hmm.
So who does that?
Have you had specific conversation with him to get details? I'm sure that I don't know whether you were just hearing it at the same time we were also hearing it, or whether you were able to have other conversations with him behind the scenes.
No,
with regards to
I'm a member of the Committee on Army.
Okay.
I also got some information. I actually had a motion on the Kuje prison, but from nowhere, the chairman of the committee called me the week before we resumed. And he said he was in my state. Oh, what are you doing? You know, where he was visiting prisons and all that.
That's
okay.
In Edo State?
Yes. So I said, okay, I have a motion on what happened. So we talked about it, you know, and he was threatening me, don't move it to another committee, leave it with my committee and all that. So we talked. So by the next week when I was supposed to present it, I saw a video of him, the chairman of the committee and members of the committee visiting the prison. So hence, there was no need for me to move it anymore. But somehow, someone else, I think the chairman Committee on Intelligence brought a similar motion. But the intel we got was the Kariship Hills, that some people were there for like 2 weeks, and the farmers told the security agents, and nothing was done.
So the people actually give intel.
Exactly like the NSA was saying the other day that the people should give information. They gave the information, and yet nothing was done. You know, so this I don't see, to come back to your question, I do not see an end to this. So when we talk like this, they say, okay, oh, well, we are believing in God. They say, what's God got to do with this? So, okay, what else should we believe in? If you say the people should collaborate and give information, and they've done their best, risking their life to do this. A colleague told me from Katsina, can we mention the state, that a bandits came to a house, and they were to take the man and the woman away, and the man said the woman is a visitor. And they allowed the woman go. The woman got to a police checkpoint and said, bandits just took my husband away. A little while after, they told the man, the bandits told the man, I thought you told us that the lady in the house just now was a visitor. So you lied to us. They broke his arm and leg. So who told the bandits? Yet people are supposed to volunteer information. So then we hear that security is not coordinated. Whose fault is it? There was a senator on, I think Shew's program the other day was talking about the NSA should be sacked. Somebody actually brought a motion to that effect. I think it was late last year or early this year. No, the service chiefs, where they left, maybe there is fresh blood, this set of guys that came in. Well, but right now, we can't really pinpoint what is going on. But we think there's no coordination. So the NSA also should go. There was a question. Sorry, I don't know if I can say this.
Yeah, quickly.
There was a question somebody asked. Somebody said Governor Wike will go to Sambisa and flush out the bandits, Boko Haram. When he was responding, that's when we went to give him his nomination form. He said, I will not go to Sambisa. But as a commander-in-chief, I will provide everything they ask me for, and I will give them timeline. If you don't deliver, I will fire you. Have we budgeted? Have we provided money for security? So people should be fired.
Let's go to Lagos now. I'm sure that they'll have further questions. Ladies and gentlemen.
Well, yeah, I mean, when you say that several motions have been brought for people to go, and you say you don't see an end to this, but the lawmakers, many of them across board in terms of the Senate and the House of Reps, think that if they impeach the president, it will put an end to this. Do you share the same thought?
I don't, but like a senator said yesterday again on Show's program that, well, maybe they are trying to get the attention. They are trying to get the attention, or we are trying to get the attention of the president. Yeah, maybe he's working. I think now we heard that he's changed some brigade of guards and all that, or some GOCs. Maybe that's working. But for how long? For how long can we keep threatening? I am not in support of impeachment, because we did it the last assembly. I coordinated the collection of signatures for my state, and it never happened. And I don't see it happening now. If you go through the process of impeachment, it's minimum 4.5 months to achieve it. That is if you have a willing Senate president and speaker. But today we know the president campaigned for these gentlemen, and I don't see them. I don't see them in any way supporting it. But if they were to support it, we need minimum 4.5 months for it to happen. And 4.5 months from when we resume, that's if they allow us to resume 20th of September, when we're supposed to resume. If we resume 20th of September, 4.5 months will also already take us into January, February, when the elections will be taking place. So it's not feasible. Although I'm not in support right now, I don't see what it's going to achieve, and I don't even think we will get the numbers. In the last assembly, I remember somebody from Niger State told me that he didn't like the president. He doesn't see any reason why he would not even support the impeachment, but he asked me a question. Why should he, from the north, support the removal of the president and allow somebody from the southwest to take over power? These sentiments are still here today. So I don't see how it's going to work, but if the attempt is to get the president's attention, maybe it's working.
Well, we've now been joined by Honorable Dachum Bagos, who is a member of National Security and Intelligence Committee, also Deputy Chairman, Anti-Corruption Committee in the House of Representatives, whose constituency, as you saw there, witnessing that current challenge. Good morning, and thank you for joining us on the program. Well, you heard your colleague, Honorable Ogun, speaking about the impeachment move, but if you could start off with what the situation currently is in your constituency before you delve into his own part, the latter part of what he says. So what is going on at the moment?
Yeah, well, good morning, Chamberlain and Nigeria. Now, the situation is calm at the moment, but tension still high. Still mourning. The two that are in the hospital are stable. I visited them yesterday. One of the women that had a gunshot and the child that his arm was amputated. Doctors were able to stabilize the child. The child is 5 months old, not even 8 months. The doctors have stabilized him, and I believe he will better. So the situation is calm, but tensions are very, very, very high. People are disappointed, people are worried, and at the same time, people are scared because there are still rumors of information of another attack likely in another community. So that's how the people live in fear every day. The men within the communities don't sleep because of intelligence of any likely attack that might happen. So that's the life our people have found themselves. They don't go to the farm again, scared of being attacked. And so a lot of issues, but then, as it is, trying to manage the people as it is.
Well, so to the latter part of what Honorable Logan was speaking about, that he doesn't see this ending. I mean, the fact that even if politically speaking, the action that the members or some members in the National Assembly want to take, impeaching the president, they think is that going to even go the whole hog? Why start it if they can't finish it?
Well, there's a statement that a step of 1,000 miles. To me, whatsoever step we need to take to address the issue of insecurity in this country is a welcome idea. Like in my own constituency, with what happened, intelligence were there. People notice was even given to the community that they will be attacked. Security did not come to condone the area and to make the people feel safe. At the same time, at the meeting, because of what has happened and the tension, the local government convened a security meeting, and at the meeting, someone threatened that, and security did not even invite the person that threatened at that security meeting. And at the same time, it happened. And the same person is not being invited for interrogation. Nobody is arrested after 24 hours, Kimberly. And what do you expect us to say as the lawmakers? The people represented us to do the right thing. So even if it will not work, I stand for the impeachment. Even if, no matter what, let my people know that I have taken a step to secure them. That's why they sent me to the National Assembly, to make laws and at the same time to ensure that the laws are working. So I have a law for an alternative. So if the law for an alternative to see that we have a new face and a new government through the Constitution, so even if it did not work, let my people know that I have tried.
Well, because Honorable,
there are a lot of issues that so I support it. Even if it work or if it does not work, I support it. People are dying on a daily basis. People will not be able to go to farm this very season, and the economy is getting bad. 2023 is going to be worse in terms of hunger because of food insecurity. These people are not being arrested. Rather, the people that are bandits were able to rescue their own in prisons, but government could not rescue our people that are being captured back. So which means the bandits are even trying to show that they are more powerful than the government. So now, when people see the security on the road, they are not scared. But when they see a dressed headsman looking like a bandit, they are scared and they run away. So how are situations being turned around into the country? And the confidence and trust is being lost by the people on a daily basis. What are you going to tell people for a campaign in 2023?
Honorable Bagos, in addition to the intelligence that you said was provided ahead of this most recent attack in your constituency, there are reports also that when attacks are carried out in Jos, that an arrests are made, the aggressors are released on bail, and in fact the governor has complained about this in the past. The next day the aggressors are back in their homes. Your leaders enjoy a bipartisan representation, but are you on the same page as far as these attacks are concerned? And why is your state government helpless, to rein in on aggressors?
Despite the fact that we're on a different party with the governor, the truth of it is that there's no governor in Nigeria that has the ability to control the security situation in any state. All the governor can only show is a political will to be able to address the security situation in any other state. Governors are being called chief security officers merely, but the governor cannot give a commissioner of police order or cannot give any other person order. He can only provide assist or support the security agencies with equipment. Even the equipment, there are some certain kind of, a governor cannot go to the market and buy guns or ammunition. He can just give them cars or any other thing to aid their mobility. So, and that is why we have pushed to see that we amend the constitution by giving governors community police, to amend the constitution to see that vigilante are being have a say to be able to protect our own community. There are a lot of laws that we are trying to bring into place to see that the people take charge of their security. But the chain of command of security in this country, that it will have to be from the commissioner of police to the IG or to AIG or DIG, and before response is being carried out, nothing can be done. So we need to even amend our constitution to see that we address some of these issues. But at the meantime, what is the confidence? What have the security agencies been able to do with the funds that we have provided? Who has been sacked so far, just like my colleague Sajos have said? So the political will to show the ability of government to address the issue of insecurity is very paramount. The issue of insecurity is not about the issue of party. It's not about the issue of religion. It's not about the issue of ethnicity, but it's about the issue of life, securing the life and property of Nigerians. Because that is the paramount law of the president, first in the Constitution. So if a president will fail to discharge the first of such responsibility, then we have a question to ask. He is our president, so we need to demand for answer.
Honorable Bagos, talk to us about this Irigwe militia that is said to be sponsoring the violence. What more do you know about it?
There is no militia on the plateau, that I can assure you. There is no ethnic group that has militia on the plateau. If there could have been any ethnic group that has militia on the plateau, we couldn't have been complaining that our people will be killed. If there is any ethnic group that has militia on the plateau, we could have, those militias could have been the one going after these headsmen. They could have been the one protecting our people. They could have been the one ensuring that our communities are safe. So at times when people just sit down and try to look for a scapegoat, when the youths come out to see how they can protect their own communities, and they have been the ones against, they usually fall victims of security agencies, and they are being paraded as militias. Do you know what, do they really know what the word militia is all about? If today we have militia, and today we say that we have mercenaries in plateau, no single plateau life would be lost. But on a daily basis we are killed, and people come back and say that our ethnic groups have militia. Militia from where? Who is sponsoring those militia?
Well, you have told the people to protect themselves, and I think that's what we've been hearing time and again. If it looks like the security agencies are not up to the task, then the people clearly need to find a way to protect themselves. But, you know, still speaking on this move, at least to get a major change, some say it's just to get the attention of the president to work. Some believe, well, let's even start and see how far it will go. I remember on this show last year, it was in April, and we spoke to you, and you said that, you know, there was going to be that security summit. By the way, there are questions about what came out of that report of the summit that the House of Reps held. But you said that, you know what, if after the summit, nothing changes regarding security, then the president, then the impeachment process would begin. That was as far back as April, and, well, clearly nothing happened then. It's been over a year since that. So I wonder, for that summit, that report that came out of a security summit, there was so much expectations, so much recommendations. What came out of it? And honestly, what more can the House, the lawmakers do? We'll go to Honorable Ogo on that, but I'd like you to speak to that question first.
Yeah, it's absolutely the bureaucracy and lack of political will from government. As far as the National Assembly members and lawmakers are concerned, we have done the needful. We have brought out motions, we have brought out resolutions on the House. There is no member on that floor of the House, 360 of us, that is not affected directly or indirectly. And the Security Summit proffers solutions in terms of funding, in terms of how government will drive intelligence, in terms of international collaboration. And it's from the Security Summit, mind you, that just a few weeks ago, we were able to pass some laws that have to do with anti-terrorism, money laundering, and so on and so forth. And so it's now left for government to be able to execute some of those things that we were able to provide as a result of the Security Summit. So because government has not done anything about it, and that's the last resort, just like I said yesterday, last year, if they have not been able to do anything the last after the security, we'll start moving for the impeachment process, which we are going to do it. And whether it work or not work, let the people know that we have started something, because we have given them everything. Reports are there on the media on billions of naira, not 1, 2, 3 billion, hundreds of billions that have been provided to security agencies. That if half or 10% of those billions is being given to ASUU, maybe some of these youths that are being recruited by some of these people in terms of armed robbery and even to be part of those bandits could have been reduced. Well, during the Goodluck administration, when nomadic education was being given to this to the Fulanis in various areas, they fought against it. But now these people are on rampage. They don't have anything. They don't have education. Nobody knows who they are, and so on and so forth. How do you want this to be addressed?
Well, Honorable Surgeons, I mean, you know, I mean, perhaps in the future, if people were to look back at this government, and generally speaking, different governments, when they say a government succeeds or a government fails, it's usually across board. And the National Assembly, I mean, you're a member now, so if they said government succeeded or government failed to handle security, how would you feel if they said you were part of a government that failed or didn't handle security properly?
Yeah, for some of the motions that we bring, but people forget this quickly, the motions we bring and the bills, they are actually channeled towards solving most of these problems. But if you bring a motion and you get a resolution of the House, who is to implement? Who is to execute it? It's still the executive. It's just a resolution that's going to be passed back to the executive. So for some of us at times when we do certain things and they say we are politicizing certain things, security, healthcare, education, and all that. Well, like I said earlier, you know, they started this, but we don't have to do it the way they did it. I'm of the PDP, we are a matured party. We don't have to, like people say, where's your position? You are not providing any opposition. We don't have to do it the way they did it. But that is why right now, they don't have the sympathy of the people. We have brought in tons of motions to address most of these issues. It's the same thing. You get a resolution and it's passed with the executive and nothing happens. But I believe someday when the history or when we are taking records of what happened, I'm sure history will be kind to us because we can easily refer to some of the motions we moved. These motions are not necessarily playing to the gallery. They are motions to address the situations because we are representing people. We are from different constituencies. We feel their pulse. They have sent us here to be their voice. When something is happening in your constituency and you bring it to the floor of the House and your colleagues agree with you and there's a resolution, it's only natural that the executive should implement. But that's not what is happening today. That's why some of us are thinking, because the security agents are not coordinated, the apparatus, everybody is just working on their own. How will you expect the Department of State Security to work so hard to gather intelligence and then give to certain arm of, you know, of the agencies or security agents, and then they will not implement? And then something happens, and nobody is sacked. I think the NSA should go like yesterday.
Your colleague spoke about the Constitution review, which is currently going on. You're a member of the committee. Can you tell us how far it's gone?
I think we got a notice when we came back from the last recess that there was a notice sent to the state assemblies to try and bring in their reports, and not all of them had done that. I actually remember calling my speaker, the speaker of my state, to say, look, like a couple of states have submitted their reports, and he told me they were sending their own report that week. So I think they are in the process of collating reports from the states before we can proceed from there.
Do you think that we'll be able to get anything out of the Constitution review, that would affect security positively before the end of the 9th Assembly, beg your pardon?
I don't think a whole lot will happen, because for some of us wanted state police there. We didn't get it. Mm-hmm. And that is what everybody is clamoring for. But I also want to disagree a bit with my colleague, Honorable Bagos, because section, is it 216(2)? The president is to consult with the Nigerian Police Council in appointing an IG and even sacking an IG. And that council comprises of governors. So I think that's the forum for them to raise some of these issues. Even 215, I think 3 and 4, talks about the commissioner that's sent to the states and the relationship the governors should have with the commissioners. I've heard a former governor, Peter Obi, say something about he wanted to remove a commissioner of police, and he told the IG, and he wanted the deputy to succeed immediately, and they said no and no. So they have power, not necessarily to sack, but to change a police commissioner that is not cooperating with them. I think what they want is just to be absolute control.
Yeah, but I mean, there have been situations whereby commissioners have not, they've only cooperated with the IG. I mean, we've seen what happened. We saw what happened in Rivers State in the case of Chibuike Amici when he was governor.
Yeah, the Constitution says that matter of fact that they have to, the commissioners will have to escalate such communication with the commissioner in the state or the governor to the president or the minister in charge in Abuja, before it takes certain steps. But the point is, the point I'm making is, you don't want to get into a problem. You don't want to have problems with the governor, when it has to do with the police. So you only hear that they don't have absolute powers over them. But if you have a problem today, the governor picks his phone and calls the commissioner of police. You're going to be in a cell for a long while, unless you have condition to get out of that place. But I know what they want. They want absolute control. Yeah, because they are chief security officers. But to that extent, we wanted state police, but it didn't work. So I don't see much happening in the constitutional review or the amendments that will change the situation today.
You think the process of the constitutional review, this is a separate question from security, will be concluded before the time of this National Assembly runs out?
Of course. Usually they will complete it, and then this is now whether the president will sign. I actually think we're going to finish that before we go for our elections.
Okay. Well, gentlemen, we have to thank you both for coming on Sunrise Daily this morning. Honorable Dachong Bagos, we have to also send our condolences to you and your constituency members over the killings that happened there. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us on Sunrise Daily. He is a member of the National Security and Intelligence Committee and also the Deputy Chairman, Anti-Corruption Committee. Thank you for coming. And Honorable Cedric Ogun, right here in our Abuja studios, he's a member of the Constitution Review Committee and also a member of the Committee on Petroleum Downstream. Gentlemen, thank you once again for coming.
Thank you for having me.
We'll take a break at this point and we'll be back to discuss the response of the security agencies to what has been happening across the country. Please stay with us.
Welcome back. Well, yeah, you see that Dixon Osage joins us next to just take a look at how the security agencies are responding to this matter, coordination, if you will. Well, he served in the Nigerian Army Armored Tank Battalion. He's a criminologist. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you for having me, Shamali. Good morning.
Well, there's definitely a lot expected of security agencies. Much as we may have heard the NSA giving his opinion about it, help us understand the thinking of security agencies, looking at all of what is going on, especially in several other quarters. Nigerians don't feel the same way about the confidence level for security agencies, given what is going on now.
Well, Chamberlain, that's a very good one. You see, basically the military are supposed to uphold the territorial integrity of this great nation, Nigeria. And the survival of Nigeria resides in the hands of the military. When you see great nations like American, Russians, they build their pride on their military. And a few weeks ago, when the Liberian Chief of Staff sent a congratulatory message to the Nigerian military, he made a statement which is very touching. He said the success or the survival of Liberia today, the existence of Liberia today is based on the sacrifice our military puts in bringing Liberia to a state of peace. And one will wonder if a country like Nigeria of over 200 million people, we were once called the giant of Africa, but personally, going by what is happening, the security threats from the east, west, south, and north, I don't think we are the giant of Africa anymore because our security are being dissipated. Now, when you ask me, what do I think about the military? I think the military needs to re-strategize its operation and its tactical operation as well, because we cannot have a country whereby we have the Nigerian Army, the Nigerian Navy, the Nigerian Air Force that consisted of the military. Then we have the police, we have the DSS that are supposed to be in charge of intelligence and some other intelligence network. And we have some unnecessary human being terrorists flying on motorbikes, taking over territory, which is insurgency, going after our people. We cannot travel by road, we cannot travel by air, we cannot even travel by train. So the threat is on the high rise, the risk is on the high rise. So for me, if I want to suggest, I think the military needs to go back to the drawing board.
So why is it that? Because regularly, Nigerians face policemen on the streets, on the road every day, harassing regular citizens. But if you go with the military fatigue today, you could almost be beaten black and blue by the Nigerian army. And then when it comes to terrorism, we don't see the same kind of response. So they can't understand. Why can't they address this? Why does it look as if this is beyond them?
You see, I agree with you. Some few days ago, I was in a program and I said that if anything happens to Nigeria, personally, I think I will hold the military accountable. Because when it comes to terrorism, Chamberlain, counter-insurgency comes with various components. Most people think the military might alone will eliminate terrorism or counter-insurgency. It doesn't work that way. When we talk about counter-insurgency, it's talking about territories, just like what these kidnappers and terrorists are doing. And for the military to engage these guys with speed and momentum, other component needs to come to play. The economic component needs to play. The political component needs to play. The strategic component needs to play as well. Now, let me be truthful or be sincere with the government, with the federal government. They are releasing these funds. I will not expect the president to go to the battlefield. I will not expect the national security advisor to go to the battlefield. They are releasing this fund, which has to do with the strategic center of gravity. They are releasing the funds and getting the equipment and getting, some other fighters' ammunitions, which some of our soldiers have also complained that they are not getting enough equipment. So if we want to get things right, we need to bring all the components together. Political component has a role to play. What are the political grievances? What is happening in Nigeria, Chamberlain, is an organized crime. If any crime is being classified as an organized crime, that tells you there are some elites, some leaders that are playing a role in this. Nigeria was not like this some years back. How did we arrive at a state whereby arms and ammunition is in the hands of different kind of people across board? How do we disarm these people? How do we carry out a disarmament program? Because if we keep on killing these guys, I tell you for free, the killing of terrorists does not, classify victory. You don't classify victory by the number of terrorists you kill, because sometimes I see the defense headquarters putting out statements that they've killed 500 terrorists. No. The killing of terrorists does not, classify victory.
You think that's tokenism?
Yeah. What classified victory is a state of peace. You and I believe that most of Nigerians are not living in a state of peace. We are living in a state of fear.
Now, data gathering is at the heart of the fight against terrorism and insurgency. And the communication minister only just yesterday absolved the Ministry of blame in that regard, saying that they have provided the required information in terms of SIM linkage and the NIN. Why do you think this is not leading to sufficient victories and results in the fight against terrorism?
Intelligent question. I think there's lack of coordination. Some few weeks ago, I saw a paper flying around the public space about an imminent strike by these terrorists. And the commander wrote that letter to the permanent secretary. And I think that was an error. Information are supposed to be classified, top secret and secret. There are documents that are not supposed to be in the public space because most of these criminal elements, these terrorists, what they do, they carry out hostile reconnaissance. Hostile reconnaissance is getting information about our military operations, getting information about our security agent operation, and they use that information against our security agents. So coming back to your question, if you ask me why, I will tell you for free that there is no proper coordination between the military and other security agents because we need to build a formidable intelligence network. No nation survives without an effective and formidable intelligence network. What is intelligence? Intelligence is something new. For instance, there is a crime in progress or these guys are trying to strike. How do we fetch this intelligence from the enemy's camp? We are not getting that. If you don't have a formidable intelligence network, I tell you, we will not succeed in the area of counterintelligence and counterinsurgency.
But that data also has, leadings to financial institutions. So the security agencies will also have leads as to where the funds are being ferried through. Why is that also not leading to results?
Well, you see, what you just said is all about terrorism financing, because like in the EndSARS, the last EndSARS movement, the CBN were so swift to get those guys that were behind EndSARS sponsors. And I begin to worry. I said, if you can get the sponsors of EndSARS, how come you cannot fetch out the sponsors of these terrorists? The last time we learned Dubai or some country, is it Dubai? Yes. Gave us some names of most of these guys that were sponsoring terrorism. Let me tell you, if we don't have an effective administration of criminal justice system to put to halt those that are sponsoring terrorism or bring them to book, crime will continue to flourish. Why crime has been flourishing in Nigeria is because our criminal justice system is very, very vulnerable and very weak. People say justice delayed, justice denied. I disagree. Justice delayed is an abuse and failure of our judicial system. So it has to do with an holistic component. We are in a dead situation. Nigerians cannot move around freely without being intimidated or coerced. So for us to get this right, we need a proper coordination between our intelligence network, the military, and our communication system.
Specifically speaking now, what will it take, or should I say, who will it take to ensure that we get these results? One of them being at least ensuring that those who are sponsoring terrorism, whatever name, banditry, kidnapping, are fished out, are prosecuted, and we see that something is being done. And this government has said they will put out names in the past. They will name names, name and shame. They will expose people. We've not seen none of that. So who, or do I say, what will it take to ensure that those people are brought out and prosecuted?
The executive has the capacity to do that.
When you mean the executive, are you saying the president?
The president has the capacity to give a marching order to the National Security Advisor or to the intelligence to release these names.
Hasn't he done that time and again?
I have not seen any name flying on the media space. I don't know why they have not released the names of these terrorist sponsors. Is it because one or two people are scared that maybe their family or friends are being indicted? This is a question we need to ask ourselves because when it comes to hierarchy of protection, human lives come first. We are playing with human life in this country. The topmost priority of any government is the protection of lives. Property even comes last because property can be replaceable. Human being cannot be replaceable. When you are gone, you are gone. And that is why in the hierarchy of protection, you need to place priority on human lives. And when you go to hierarchy of control, anything that poses threat to human life must be eliminated. So we need to eliminate terrorism. We need to eliminate kidnapping. We need to eliminate banditry. If we don't do that, Nigeria is sitting on a time bomb, and as it stands, we're in a fragile state situation.
I've seen a case. I mean, you've placed the book at the table of the president, which is something we have heard time and again. The National Assembly, at least some section, thinks the president should be impeached so we can get results. Some say it will take a long time. In fact, by the time you are done, this administration is gone anyway. So what is the point? But there seems to be so much work happening in the military and the security system. I mean, we lose young lives daily to insecurity. Yeah. So clearly, these people are putting themselves on the line. They are deployed time and again. For the people, it looks like we're not seeing enough results because time and again, you see kidnappings, you see killings. We just witnessed one in Plateau State, and that's one of several. So I know it's been said that there needs to be some proper punishment for people who drop the ball. And I'm worried to ask again, whose table does it fall to ensure that there's some sort of reprimanding or some sort of, repercussion for failing? Is it the president yet again?
Kayode, I'm so touched by your question. The reason why I'm so touched by your question is that I'm a product of the Nigerian Army. My father is a product of the army. My elder brother is a product of the army. My younger brother is still serving in the army, putting in 21 years of service. I can tell you categorically that the Nigerian army precisely is getting weak. You can't train a soldier so hard and allow these soldiers. Yes, I will tell you categorically they are getting weak, because if you want to measure the strength of the army, you don't train a soldier so hard and allow these soldiers to die so cheap. I know what it is to pass through the fire and fury of military training. I know what it is in making of a soldier. I know what it is to put your life in line to serve this great nation. We need to protect our soldiers. We need to ensure that our soldiers don't die so cheap from the hands of these criminal elements. Most of these guys that are taking out our soldiers are not as trained as our soldiers. What is the problem? Then the military needs to start looking at its operational strategy, deployment strategy, and tactical strategy. Don't put a soldier in the front line more than the expected number of months or the expected number of days. Well, if our soldiers keep dying so cheap like this, I tell you, it's going to be demoralizing, demotivating. So the military must ensure that, must understand that we are in a war situation, and they must go all out to attack this war situation.
In conclusion, is it fair to say that if we could chase down Sunday Igboho to a neighboring country, if we could go ahead and arrest Nnamdi Kanu for another country, yeah, but we cannot, as of yet, identify and arrest and prosecute those who did the shooting in our church, then the state knows much more.
I agree. Because, sometimes when crime flourish or when crime extend the number of time or number of days or number of months or number of years, I think there are top actors in this. For me, our killing is very, very painful, because I thought that the federal government and the state government would have set up an intensive investigation inquiry unit to go into that killing and ascertain or identify the killers of our killings. If we don't identify these people, Chamberlain, I tell you, most of these guys will keep coming to Nigeria because they believe Nigeria is a place you can commit crime, go scot-free, nothing happen. We don't carry out investigation from beginning to the end. We start investigation, stop it halfway, the government will come, we hereby condemn this incident. Let us stop condemning incident. Let's go into action. Let's stop that incident from reoccurrence. If we don't do that, I tell you, the Nigerian state will not be a better place to live.
Well, we can only, at this point, just look forward to more response from the relevant authorities, because, I mean, these chaps have attacked the presidential guard, attacked the president's convoy.
The threat was given and attested.
They've tested the response time for the presidential guard in Abuja. They've tested the armory, how the strength of it.
So disturbing.
They know that there isn't that coordination. The NSA said that much. So one wonders, what is next?
What is next?
Well, I want to thank you for coming on.
Thank you very much, Chamberlain.
Pleasure to have you on. Well, let's take a look at some comments coming through from you. We've got some emails.
Absolutely. Let's start with the email from Kenneth, saying, the credible way out of this morass of insecurity bedeviling our country, Nigeria, is for our leaders to rise above ethnic and religious sentiments and muster the political will to deal with killers, no matter who is involved. Also, the National Assembly should quickly enact and pass a bill to restructure this country in terms of political, economic, and security architecture. He ends with this prayer: may God bless Nigeria.
Well, we hope that they're listening. And this one from Professor Imono Kainakena says, next government must have a national education plan with a team in place to end this perennial ASUU, NASU impasse that's resulting in strikes, and enact feasible policies and programs to forestall further contempts, I believe, in our ivory towers by my belabored colleagues.
Or contretemps,
well, education is the silver lining in this cloud. It says, Nigerian graduates remain the darling of other countries. We need just a little bit of courage and political will from the federal government to make our educational system the envy of other countries. Dear FG, please end ASUU strike, he says.
Well, thank you so much for sending in your feedback, and, just keep them coming. Thank you for watching this morning. I'm Maope Ogun Yusuf.
I'm Kayode Okikele.
I'm Bukola Samuel Wenemo. Thank you for watching.
And I am Chamberlain Oso. Goodbye.